We ready?
I'm just creeping JT.
Good evening. I love the big crowd out here. We're gonna start out with our workshop. There's 2 items on there. I'll let Dr. Paluski lead us into our workshop.
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, our first presentation, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Dr. Tori Hooper, our Deputy Superintendent, is actually going to do both presentations tonight. But our first presentation is on the Every Student Succeeds Act, the law that replaced No Child Left Behind in 2015. And this is just meant to be some mini professional development as we just want to keep you informed. There's a lot, it's complex around the law, but we want to just give you a very brief overview about the law, the metrics, how we're held accountable through the federal and state accountability components. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Hooper.
So good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Paluski. Tonight I will be presenting to you on the ESSA Act, Every Student Succeeds Act. And again, this is just a overview, right? It's very complex, it's very detailed. Tonight I really just want to focus on one indicator, 1 to 2 really, and that's mainly student growth and student quality or school quality. Next slide. Guess I can do that. All right, here we go. Again, so I'm going to really just dive into the major components of this accountability system and how the state of Arkansas is being held accountable for our letter grades as it pertains to the district, along with the individual school grades. In addition to that, we want to begin to establish strong systems as it relates to progress monitoring, analyzing, and improving individual student performance along with individual campuses. And last but not least, we want to support the campuses, campus principals, teachers with goals and timelines as it relates to the content areas of math and reading. Right now, again, we're not going to dive into the data. I just want to give you a picture of our starting point, right? As I have began my walk and my listening and learning with the district and principals, I'm trying to really frame them and put them in the mindset that red means growth, red means opportunity. Again, we've been in this pandemic for going on 3 years almost, and we all have experienced some type of learning loss at the individual campus level. So again, red means opportunity, red means growth. And this data actually is from the 2021 school year of the ACT Aspire. Again, this is part of the No Child Left Behind, which was modified, and it outlines how states will specifically be held accountable for school performance, focuses on improvement and opportunity for all students. So as it relates to the accountability in the state of Arkansas, we have 5 indicators: achievement, growth, progress for students whose language is other than English, graduation rate, along with school quality and student success. Again, just gonna focus on growth for tonight. Right here, what you see are the various indices or index as it relates to our accountability. It is divided into 2 groups. The first group is elementary and middle, and the second group is high school. Again, for elementary, 50% of our accountability comes from growth. Secondary, high school, 35% of our accountability comes from growth. So we're really trying to change the mindset right now for our principals so they can know that attainment is possible, achievement is possible, the goals are possible. Included in this accountability, you have school quality and student success indicator. So if you add that into your growth, that's going to be a total of 65% for your elementary and your middle school campuses, and that's going to be 50% for your secondary of high school. That gives us a lot to go off on. So again, this is our starting point. We're not just looking at achievement, and I think that's where the mindset needs to shift at, that you just don't have to get students to pass the test. We need to look and triangulate their data from where they are and let them know that growth is possible. Red means opportunity, red means growth. As we dive into the student growth, we are going to be looking at a plethora or the trends of data in two specific areas: English language arts, math, and along with our English language proficiency over a period of time. But again, we're gonna need at least 2 to 4 years of data. With that in mind, we're going to look at, say for instance, we have a student who has been in the state of Arkansas since 3rd grade, because that's where testing begins. And we are going to track this student all the way up to the 12th grade. However, if we have at least 2 to 4 years worth of data, we can get points for each individual student. On average, the state is looking at us to grow at least 80% on average of our student population within each building. What does that mean? They're kind of giving us some leeway, right? We understand that students transition, or they may move from state to state, house to house. They have some dynamic factors. So again, this is just growth. We're not talking about the achievement piece. We're just looking at the growth. At least 80% of our students.
Okay, so quick question. Does that expected growth vary based on your current achievement? So let's say a school's at 90%. It's hard to grow that. So is that expected growth smaller as you get closer to 100? Obviously, if you're at 100%, you can't grow. So how is that a moving value?
It is. Once
Okay.
everyone takes the test every single year, it's
Right.
going to change.
Okay.
Good question. With this, I just wanted to give you a broad overview. Everyone wants to know the formula. The formula is very ambiguous. When you look at the formula, I'm not going to dive into it. However, I just want to make everyone aware that they do look at participation rate. They want to get at least 95% of the student population to assess so that we can see where we are individual-wise in terms of campuses. They also look at subgroups, so we're looking at all subgroups from demographics along with your L population, your SPED population, so forth and so on. You're looking at your math, your reading, your science, tested assessments. They're also looking at students that can be excluded from the data, such as students that have been incarcerated or students that have been in the detention center, so they will take those students out. So I just want to keep that in mind. Again, I'm not going to, yes ma'am, Ms. Wonko.
So how does that affect our academy?
So their data goes in with the high school.
Okay.
They're not incarcerated, they're not in
Okay, so we
juvenile.
don't exclude them at all?
No.
It's all there?
Correct. So we're looking at growth for
Right.
them.
On special ed, I know they have to take the test as well.
Yes.
Back in the day, they used to take a different test, but
Correct.
now they have to take the same test. How does that affect?
So they do have a different type of test. In addition to that, they also receive their modifications, their accommodations, extended time. So we do accommodate for students that are identified as special education or 504. Any type of accommodation we do accommodate. And that is a learning curve. We do have to put certain systems and practices into place to ensure that students are getting the appropriate testing accommodations. And I'm going to begin to close this out. However, with this in mind, that we know that we're thinking about growth. The ACT Aspire, which is our end-of-year assessment for the state of Arkansas, is based on the Webb's Depth of Knowledge. This is 4 specific levels, from the recall level all the way up to the extended thinking. And what I'm getting ready to show you are some various snapshots of the assessment. And many of our questions, and I'm just going to show again a 3rd grade assessment, are coming from the depth of knowledge on the level 3. So those type of questions are going to involve, how can you use it? You know, what is the cause? What is the effect, the reason, the results? So they really have to have the ability to think and have that rigorous instruction going on. So again, I'm going to display an exemplar reading passage, and I did have the opportunity to share this with the principals at their last principals meeting last week, so it was a very enlightening moment for them as well. This is a framework or just a passage from a third grade ACT Aspire. As you can see, there are no text features at the moment. There are no pictures. It's a very in-depth reading passage. Just the framework, the setting, it looks like it could be an expository text. Look at the vocabulary. Just giving them this visual of what our third graders have to go through. And I'm not even, you know, looking at the middle or the high school yet, but just, you know, this foundation for our third grade elementary students. As you can see, the questioning, this is a selected response, so it is a multiple choice. Again, building on the same passage, they have open-ended responses, and if I did not mention already, this is a time test. So our next steps for keeping our leaders in the learning is, one, to make them aware of the state accountability. In addition to that, begin triangulating individual student data, setting goals, implementing a progress monitoring system with follow-up, tracking our student attendance, participation rates, and reviewing those trends from the past. And last but not least, we want to continue to build the capacity of our school leaders so that they can be informed, they can make intentional goals, and make their staff aware that it's not punitive, that we can build on where our students are at the moment. And last but not least, to ensure that each student in every building is provided the opportunity to maximize on their full potential.
JT, any questions? Ms. Williams?
A question, where did you say, you know, like the documentation that says where are we now? Let me get it right. The accountability update sheet was on, you know, the strategies, about the strategies. You know where you list all the schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that documentation, was that during the pandemic, was that 2021?
Yes, ma'am. So it was during the pandemic, they did assess because the government wants, or the Department of Education wants to know where our students are based on all the dynamics that they're experiencing, the challenges. We have to know a starting point with our students, with our leaders, so that we know how to proceed and know next steps. Yes, ma'am.
So when we test again, this, what'll
April,
be?
April, May. It'll be this year in April and
Okay,
May.
this year in this spring, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Okay, that was my concern, and I know the elementary person is not here, and I see the data that you had gotten, you know what I mean, where the same schools, 3 schools we see all the time,
Yes, ma'am.
and I just want to see how we're gonna do this year with the new superintendent and everything. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good report, Dr. Harper.
And just to add to that, Ms. Williams, is just a reminder because of last year, the legislature with the federal government. So last year we tested, just like Dr. Hooper had said, just as another data point to further diagnose where we are. It did not count on the accountability measure. That got waived for a year. So,
That was my question.
and everything that we're hearing, obviously this year, is gonna count. So there are no current waivers that that we have an understanding of at this point. So it's, you know, full speed ahead, and we've got a plan in place. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to come back probably next month and share some comparative data from this year, from the fall to the spring, to show the growth that she's actually talking about, as well as some plans that we're already setting up for next year to deepen our improvement.
Very good, thank you.
Ms. Wonkum?
So that's where the letter grades are gonna
Correct.
start again. So that's what, yeah.
Correct, and when the slide that she had on the percentages, all of that, and she had the 5 stars, all of that is what makes up the rating. And so what we've been talking about, and where Dr. Hooper has been focused with schools, is showing where there's the biggest percentage of where you can, and growth is one area. The other area, which is in the bottom, which is 15%, that quality school index. So there are things in there like attendance,
Yeah.
right? Or chronic absenteeism,
Right.
right? You get points for those kinds of things. So there's definitely some low-hanging fruit here, and I appreciate Dr. Hooper's leadership, having only been here just a few months.
Yep.
I'm glad she's here.
Ms. Person West, were you done, Ms. Wonka?
Yeah, that was my main concern. When are we gonna start getting our report cards for the schools again? Because I know we've had a waiver, and so I'm hoping we banked on this opportunity to really focus in and improve some of those letter grades that they're gonna dish out to us. So, yeah, I'm done.
Ms. Person West?
I guess, just sitting here thinking about it, I was just kind of wondering, have conversations been had or being had at this current time as far as making sure that, kind of reinforcing where our students may, need to be ready for the spring and how important this is, and, as far as, who's up elementary, this Lori Smith, right? Okay, as far as, just making sure that she understands that all this information needs to get conveyed to all of our students and parents and making sure that we're ready.
Hanging fruit.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and again, we did have a conversation with the principals. This is new for them, right? Because I think if you know the direction, like Dr. Paluski mentioned, your low-hanging fruit, you can show growth some way, somehow, even though we've been in a pandemic, because it's never gonna, the virus is never gonna go away. However, we know how to maneuver through it in terms of where we are and where we wanna be, and the individual needs for the campuses and the students. So we just have to be more mindful, more strategic as we move forward. And I think if we focus on the growth first, this is our starting point, and then begin to go down to the granular level, looking at the standards, triangulating data, not just ACT Aspire. Let's begin to look at running records. Let's learn to look at our attendance, because your school quality is also going to come from, in the high school level, how many students are taking AP classes, how many students are scoring 18 or higher on ACT. So they bring in so many other dynamics that makes it more achievable to meet that goal.
I have one more question that just came to mind. Where are you looking at, or what time frame are you all looking at as far as starting to get that information out to parents and making sure that not only students are prepared, but parents too?
So we met with principals now. It should be starting to get out, now as we transition. We had the ice storm, so we'll be doing follow-ups in terms of, hey, how are we communicating? Parent University is coming up. We had parent conferences, so we need to take every opportunity possible within these next couple of weeks, the next month, to begin being aggressive with the conversation so that parents won't think it's just a test, We need to change the mindset. We're also looking at growth. How can you help us at home? Just by providing that time and that space so they can just kind of read. Let's read a magazine. Let's read your favorite book. So it's going to start there, and it has to start now.
That's all I have.
Thank you
Great
very
report.
much. We're ready for the next part.
All right. So on behalf of Ms. Lori Smith and Ms. Crystal Barker, they are currently doing a community meeting with the initiative.
It'd be the next presentation, Got Books. Mr. Stiles. Yes,
Here we go.
thank you.
So Got Books, Love Reading. Reading is COOL, which stands for Creates and Opens Opportunities to Learn. It's a community reading campaign. And the purpose is really to engage our parents, our community, and our students in reading across the district. We know that that is one of our district goals. And one of the grants that we have been approved for is the Reading Initiative for Student Excellence. So again, just really trying to promote the positive aspect on reading. We all know that reading promotes creativity, imagination, motivation, can also reduce stress. But we also want to look at all of our subgroups where they are and increase their reading scores as well when it comes to reading. With that, part of the goal of the grant is to ensure that we are collaborating with our community and really informing them on the importance of reading. So again, this grant was utilized to help support in the instructional resource on the elementary level, but we're still promoting reading throughout middle and high school. But again, it's really promoting reading on the elementary level, since that is the foundation for reading and community outreach and the importance surrounding reading. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Hooper, did this grant go to both elementary and secondary?
No, ma'am, just elementary.
It didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I just saw you were telling me what the grant was used for, so what department, have we gotten it yet?
We have, yes,
But
ma'am, we have.
what department got it? Elementary?
Elementary, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank
But it's
you.
issued from DESE, the Department of Secondary Education, from the State Department.
Okay. It's right there. Thank you.
So this is our timeline. In the month of January, parents were invited to Parent University, which is actually occurring this evening. The North Little Rock community, which is being hosted by Ms. Barker along with Ms. Smith. They are really campaigning to get our parents, our community, our students involved in Got Books and just really campaigning the love of reading. Next month, again, we will have our campaign kickoff, and in the month of March, we're really still going to be continuing this campaign for Love, Got Books, Love Reading. In this campaign, a survey has actually been sent out, and Ms. Smith has actually, will be extrapolating the data or obtaining the data from the survey within the next week based on 4 questions. And those 4 questions are held here. How much time do you spend reading with your child daily? How familiar are you with the reading program within our district, which is based on the Wilson Reading Resource? Would you be willing to attend a class or meeting to learn more about how to help your students in reading? And do you have a variety of books? So they will be provided books through this program. And our next steps, again, to continue to engage our parents and our community with this information to grow our students in their academic achievement and growth. We will post the survey to parents, which is ongoing, and this should actually be April 22, not 2023. And we will begin planning for our next year's campaign, Got Books Reading campaign, and we will not just only utilize our NWEA data, but we will utilize a plethora of data to track our students' progress. And with that, we want everyone to continue to watch for more information.
Ms. Person West, any questions?
I do not.
Ms. Wonkum?
So will we utilize or piggyback off of the book bus that we have? What's that, the bus that we have with all the books and we go around to our parades and whatnot? Will we be utilizing that as well with this? I'm just thinking.
That's the first time I've heard of that, but that would be good.
Yes,
I
it's
mean,
actually
if you,
down
like, show up in the community, you know, and let the kids get a book.
Right.
It just kind of coincides with what we're trying to do. So,
Exactly.
I don't remember the name of what that program is though.
But I know what
The
you're
book
talking
bus.
about, but yeah.
Yeah, so, okay,
Which is
sorry.
down in transportation. It's my understanding that we haven't used that, I think, in a couple years, but I'm going to follow back up on that.
Well, it was in the North Little Rock Parade whenever we had the parade.
The
And,
Christmas parade?
The Christmas parade, yes. And so I kind of forgot about it because
Yes.
of COVID, because we hadn't seen it in a while. And then when it showed
can
up, I was
follow
like, yeah,
back
we got that.
It's a be a good thing to connect with.
Yes. So anyway, just a kind of a thought, because again, and then where do our books come from for that program with the book bus? And is there anything we need to do in order to help stock it? Because if we use it to coincide with this, which I'm all for. So anyway, just
Sure, we can follow up.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to find the answer. to that.
throwing things out.
Oh, I
Ms.
just
Williams?
saw Dr. Hopper too, where one of the elementary schools, not in our district, They have the free books, and I guess it's sort of.
Oh,
the
we
sa-
got that. We have those little, you talking about the little,
Right,
the
the
little
little.
book? Yeah, we
cards.
have
I've
those.
seen them.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
And
We
one
have them
school in
in a lot
another
of
district already
communities.
got theirs off, and they asked for volunteers to
Yes.
donate.
Yep.
And so that's a good thing. Dr. Hooper, I've really enjoyed you reflection of a good pay.
Thank you, Ms. Willie.
I'm gonna take you.
I just, it's a great program, and I'd
Yeah.
like to thank
It's great.
Ms. Smith and Ms. Barker and you for, thank you.
Thank you for the
Excellent job.
information.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent
you.
Thank you,
job.
Dr. Hooper.
Hey,
All righty,
this works.
we're ready to move into the special board meeting. Are there any public comments? There being none, I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, Ms. Colquitt.
Dr. Reddick,
Here.
Mrs. Williams, Ms. Carson West,
Present.
Ms. Temple, Ms. Wonkum,
Here.
Mr. Zakreski,
Here.
Mr. Still.
I was here too.
I'll entertain a motion to move the executive session.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
or Madam President, I'm sorry. I would like to move to bump item 3 and items 4.1 and 4.2 to the end of the meeting after item 4.4, simply to allow individuals to leave after those two items, after items 4.3 and 4.4. So move 3, 4.1, and 4.2 to the end of the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry.
It has been moved and properly second that we move the executive session, action item 4.1 and 4.2 to the end of the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. So we're gonna go into 4.3, North Little Rock High School Intercom upgrade.
So, Madam President and members of the Board of Education, Superintendent recommends North Little Rock High School intercom upgrade, and Mr. Hatch is here to provide an overview. What I will share before he presents is that this past fall, when we've gone into a lockdown, we've noticed some gaps in communication within the school, which has prompted us to completely revamp the intercom system. So in the event of an emergency, that all individuals within the school, there were some areas in where folks could not hear properly through. There's a whole process that we go through, and it sounds out about going into a lockdown, for an example. So I'll have Mr. Hatch. Welcome, Mr. Hatch.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Paluski, board members, and I feel like I've been in a lot of mini board meetings with these two over here with the Amboy project. But anyway, I echo Dr. Paluski's comments there, where we commissioned Genesis to do an extensive survey of the whole high school campus. And in your board package, you can see that they did an absolutely thorough job. And they've identified places where there are no speakers. They've identified places where the volume may be too low. And they've identified a few places where the speakers really need to be replaced. So their proposal in your board package is for $84,694 to take care of all of these problems. And in the end of this project, there will be another extensive test done to see if we have cleared up all the problems. So that's included in the cost too, for them to come back and perform another survey for us.
JT?
And I recommend approval immediately. And only because some of these parts that are listed here, they do have a 2 to 4 week lead time. Most of the parts are available, however, some parts do have a 2 to 4 week lead time.
All right. If you don't mind, Madam President, I'll make a motion and then we can have discussion. Is that
Sure.
fine? Okay. I move that we approve the North Little Rock High School intercom upgrade from Genesis Datacom for a total of $84,694.
Second.
Okay.
It
Now,
has been moved and properly seconded that we accept the North Little Rock High School intercom upgrade presented by Mr. Hatch. Any discussion, JT?
yes. I've just got one thing to say. I've had kids at the high school for 6 years, and since day one of that, there have been complaints from lots of people about it. And it's not just, I mean, it obviously, the lockdown is an issue. But this has created issues with kids not hearing important announcements, not knowing they needed to be somewhere. It's created a lot of problems, and it's just a very necessary thing. So I'm all for it.
Ms.
Thank you.
Williams?
No comments, very good.
Ms. Wonkum?
So when do we start?
As soon as all the parts come in, because the parts, of course, that are on the 2 to 4 week waiting list are the cards and the things with chips in them, so.
Oh, those chips.
But, you know, we can get started with a lot of the other infrastructure as far as pulling the cables and
Sure.
whatnot. But to say it's at least a month out before we can actually get it resolved completely, so.
Ms. Person West?
I just have a quick question, because I'm all about working smarter, not harder. Was this a project that was not, I guess maybe just thrown in there haphazardly at first, or, I mean, it's a new school, and so like, are we going back refixing something that probably wasn't fixed properly before, or added before?
And I asked the same question when I saw
Because-
this.
You know.
I'm trying to understand, like, how is the whole intercom system not working
I agree.
now?
Wasn't it pieced together
Well,
whenever we first did it though? That's what
number
I
one, it
remember.
was phase construction, where towers A and tower B came online first, and then tower C and D came online, and then some of the other complexes in between the main office complex and the auditorium came online. So it was really, it was pieced together. And just to be frank, I don't think there was a test of the whole system and a survey such as Genesis performed for us.
Okay,
You
so
know,
I
before we accepted the schools.
got you. Okay, so you will make sure that we're using quality that the company is using good stuff, and that we won't have to go back and fix maybe a year or two down the road.
Yes, ma'am. Valcom parts, they're one of the leaders in this
Okay.
industry, so. And we're actually going back with Valcom. That way we don't have to make incredible changes with the infrastructure that already exists.
Okay. Just making sure we don't go back and have to 85 grand it down the road in another couple of years.
Not
I was-
not on my watch.
Thank
I was
you.
afraid I was gonna go back and look at some of our value-added items when we were building that high school and wondering if this fell into that bucket.
I echo that.
Yeah, I don't wanna go look, because then I'm partially to blame, but, you know, yeah, I have a feeling that may be the case.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, it's been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Mr. Hatch.
We're down to
Mr. Hatch, Thank you for
4.4.
going out in the ice with Dr. Paluska that day too while you're there. We just want to say thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
4.4, purchase of new football uniforms for 2022 season.
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, the superintendent recommends the purchase of new football uniforms for the 2022 season. I believe Mr. Brown is here, and it's my understanding, Mr. Brown, this is actually a third uniform, and the request is from their fundraising account.
That's correct. The district provides 2 uniforms for the football team. They've expressed an interest in a third uniform, and they have indicated that they will raise the funds to pay for this. The issue is, to get them for next season, you have to put an order in early, and early is February 1. We received an extension from the company based on them knowing that we had to come to the board because the cost exceeded $20,000 for approval on that. So what we're doing, Coach Sandifer says that he and his team do want the uniform, and I think there was a picture included in there of the uniform. They're willing to raise the funds to pay for that, and it'll come, the funding source will be their football fundraising activity. The cost of that is $29,794.31. So we're here for your approval of that cost, and if you approve, we'll get those on order.
There a motion?
I so move that we accept the recommendation from Dr. Paluski for new football uniforms at the
Second?
cost of $29,794.31, with the understanding that this is supported by their own activity fundraisers. And the only reason that they came before us as a vote that's in progress is because it exceeded the 20,000. It must be approved by the board, the extra 9,000.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we accept the purchase of new football uniform for 2022 season. And just for clarity, who's taking care of it?
football activity.
The football activity is actually funding the cost. It came before the board because it's over the $20,000 limit. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It has been adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
We're down to 4.5, the revised 2021-22 district calendar.
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, the superintendent recommends the revised 2021-2022 district calendar as presented at our last Board of Education meeting. If you recall, the reason that we're bringing this forth is to add 4 early release days in which we can provide additional time for teachers, such as additional planning, additional grading, additional collaboration, or simply using that time for some social emotional well-being is the recommendation.
Madam President,
Yes.
I so move that we adopt item 4.4 for the revised district calendar.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we accept the revised 2021-22 district calendar as presented. Any discussion?
My only question is if we have to get the thumbs up from the ADE to do this, or is this something we can do autonomously?
We've already cleared that with ADE.
Okay. I remember discussing it, I couldn't recall.
Because of the number of instructional minutes that we currently have, we'll be fine.
Okay, all right.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been adopted. All righty. Executive closed session per North Florida School District Policy 1.14A stating that private or closed discussions by the board may occur as part of a regular or special board meeting. Executive sessions may be held only for the purpose of considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee, or to discuss matters of pupil punishment, if requested by the parent or legal guardian. No resolution, agreement, or motion considering in the executive session shall be legally binding unless the board reconvenes in public session and presents the item for vote of the membership. Further, Arkansas Code Title 25, Chapter 19, Section 106(2)(c)(1) states, the specific purpose of the executive session shall be announced in public before going into executive session. Please join me in the executive closed session for discussing the following matters: employment, appointment, promotion, or resignation of an employee. We are back in session. All righty, is there a motion for 4.1?
Madam President, members of our Board of Education, the superintendent recommends the employment of personnel as discussed in executive closed session.
Madam,
No, we need a motion.
Madam
Just
President,
accept that.
Yes.
I make a motion that we, accept item number 4.1, is recommended by Dr. Paluski.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the employment of personnel, which is 4.1, presented by Dr. Paluski. There can be no discussion because it's about personnel. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? It has been adopted. Is there a motion for 4.2?
Madam President?
Yes.
Currently, the superintendent's contract extends through June 30th of 2023. I would like to move to extend the contract for 1 year under the current terms through June 30th of 2024.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we accept the extension of the superintendent's contract from June 30th, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, effective July 1st, 2022. There can be no discussion because it is personnel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All ayes have it. I will entertain a motion to go home.
Madam President, I so move that we adjourn.
We're out of here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.